Okay, we're live.
Okay, call to order, roll call.
Councilmember Spokley.
Here.
Berland.
Here.
Dowden Calview.
Present.
Riddell Harris. Here. And Mayor Amara.
Here. Public comment. This is a time provided so that persons may speak to the council on any item not on this agenda. Do we have any public comment? I think we did receive one, right?
I did not receive any via email or voicemail, and I let the public that is attending right now, there's 3 people, let them know if they want to make a public comment on the item that's on the agenda. They can raise their hand right now. I don't have anybody currently wanting to make a public comment.
Okay, then seeing that there's no public comment, I'll proceed to the item at hand. Ground lease for the development of the hangars at the Auburn Airport. That would be Jonathan or John, not sure.
That would be me. So
okay.
Everybody, I really appreciate your time this evening. It's great to see people, in their cars and taking the time to do this because it is a really important thing. So I appreciate the effort a lot, and I really apologize for having to do this to you on such a short notice, but I will explain why we're here. Let's see right now. That's not it. Figures it would malfunction on me. Okay. I'm completely out of Zoom right now. What the heck?
We see your slides.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's just go with it then, because this thing's really haywire on me. Here we are. Now it's back. Okay, so this evening we're here because of a project out at the east end of the airport. Everybody knows who I am, Jonathan Wright, Economic and Planning Manager. I just included this because I thought it was short but sweet. It kind of, thanks for the update and keeping us in the loop. And I think that's really important. We've been working with the 5AC and the AAA out there at the airport and really trying to get information out. I know it was important when we did the stakeholder engagement meetings to the members of the airport. And the fact that we can do a meeting like this short term and get a good response is actually really impressive. And then the other part of that message was good too, because it says, we're finally getting things going out here, which I think is the truth. And I've had a lot of people ask me, why hasn't anything happened at the east end of the airport? So it's very timely that we're having this conversation right now. So for those of you who's not familiar with the airport, the area in question is this area over here. This entire section is known as the East End Hangar section. And the subject lease area is this dirt area with the lines there. So pretty easy to find. I think most people probably know where it is. Our airport terminal building, just for reference, is over here. So it's just across the ramp there to the East End section. So there's a lot of history here, and you're very lucky that I summarized it in only a couple of points because it could go forever. We've had a lot of activity out here. There's been a lot of effort to develop. It really started in 2000, but the first council engagement that I could find was 2001, where really we pulled the trigger on moving forward with this project. And this includes both phases, East End Phase 1 and East End Phase 2. Both were developed between 2003 and 2008. And by developed, I mean the infrastructure was put in, the road, the aprons or the taxiways between the hangars, the drainage, those types of improvements. And then we started leasing hangars. The first one in 2008 was Bravo, which is this one over here. And then the last one to be developed, I believe, is Delta Row, which was this one over here, I believe. No, this one. And that was 2017. And besides the Dwelly hangar, we really haven't had any other types of hangar activities. The Dwellys is personal use, and these are all group hangars that include sublease and tenants and places for people other than just one individual to store their aircraft. So we were pretty excited in 2001 when we were actually approached by somebody that was sincerely interested in developing this area. So, and this area being the phase 2 section. This is actually the map that was provided in the airport layout plan from 2007. And it just spoke to the developments that had been planned for some time. So this has been a work in progress for many, many years and decades now. This in 2007, this specifically was identified as meeting the growth trend over the next 20 years, which if you fast forward to today, being that the airport is 100% occupied, meaning that we have no tie down spaces available other than some transient currently, and I'm not aware of any hangar space that's open, we really are kind of at the threshold of the need for that continued growth. So we're on target, although we haven't had a new hangar since, or a new sublettable hangar for 5 years. This would keep us on target with our development goals out there. This area is actually developed to accommodate 6 hangar rows, which you can see all 6 of them here. This was a double, includes 2. But they're an assortment, and this is unusual because if you look at the phase 1 was mainly box style hangars, which are good. They're large, but you're looking to appeal to people at different income levels who want to get into flying and obviously cannot afford maybe the square footage that an executive hangar would provide. And so in this discussion with our lessee, we were clear that we wanted to have a mix. We want to have both T hangars, which is the smaller style, which you get a lot of bang for your buck because you get a lot more aircraft into one area, as well as allowing them the executive hangars because we do have demand for both. So this area, the lease area, comprises over 74,000 square feet, so nearly 2 acres. It is a very large area. We will be required as part of this lease to put in some of the infrastructure, mainly the water and then assisting with the electrical. The water was actually brought into this section over here and then stubbed out for this development. There was plans in 2017 to start with the water system, and then it just simply stalled out, probably due to lack of interest in anybody developing this section. So at this time, actually at the last city council meeting, we went forward with a proposal to do one of our on-call engineering contracts to expand it to include this water line. Most of you will recall. So we are in the process of doing the re-engineering of this to make it as contemporary as possible for the current development. The old water line actually only anticipated this first section, but now since we're doing the whole thing, it is going to need to be modified to include all these sections. And why is water necessary? Water is necessary because of fire suppression standards that are required for these structures. So in order for them to get occupancy, they have to have water. So it's as important to us for life, health, safety as it is to our tenant to have occupancy. So we are moving as quickly as possible on that. One interesting little wrinkle is this is an easement that's actually owned by PG&E, which
I'm sorry to interrupt in the middle of your presentation. I can't see the cursor on the screen from you. I don't know if others can or not, but if you're meaning to point or highlight to something specific, we're not able to see that section.
Oh, all right. Thank you for letting me know. I just assumed since my cursor was out there that people could see it.
Right.
Okay, so I'll just have to describe it because obviously I don't know what else to do. So if you look at the picture here, there's some lines on what would be the west side of the east hangar area. They kind of run.
If you do you want to use your pointer, you can just exit the slideshow and go to where just the slides, you can see them in working on them, and then you can see the pointer.
Okay, so if I just in slideshow
and go back, see, now we can see your pointer. So you can still click through the slides. We just can see your pointer. That might be easier than you trying to describe.
Okay. Yeah, if you can see it this way, then that's great. And I apologize for this. Like I said, I have not done an actual council meeting in Zoom, so it's a learning curve. Okay, so we're talking about this area over here, which is actually the Wise Canal. And unfortunately, well, fortunately for PG&E, unfortunately for us, it's actually FERC regulated because it does go to a power plant. So we are in the process of going through the review for that. Now, if you can see over here, there's a sewer lift station. That's just a graphical representation. And I know that everybody on the east end of the hangar section at some point would like sewer out there. That is not anticipated at this time, and would have to be a negotiation with the tenants for cost reimbursement, so forth, for development. But because we are in this process right now and dealing with FERC, we have asked our engineer to look at what it would take to actually put a sleeve under that easement now, so that in the future it would be much easier to run sewer. We wouldn't have to go back through a FERC process for review. And of course, with ever-changing federal regulations, it's undoubtedly going to be harder in the future than it is right now. So I'm just throwing that out because we were trying to think of everything as we do this development, both short-term and long-term. Well, the other thing is, what do the hangars look like? You know, a lot of people, so what does it look like? It's going to look very much like the existing hangars that are already out there. So they will be of the same size for the box hangars, same layout, same composition of materials. So it'll be a seamless transition from phase 1 hangar section down to phase 2, other than we will have some of these smaller style T hangars that'll be mixed into it. Okay. So the lease, we started this lease process. Well, we started talking to the tenant or the possible lessee some time ago, but we actually started the lease process about 4 months ago. So we have been engaged in this for some time with a back and forth. It is a complex lease. It is a phased lease. This is something that we have not, or at least I did not find out there at the airport. We did use the latest and greatest lease that we had, which was off of Delta Row, the last one to be developed. So it is very similar to other leases out there, but because it's phased, we had to really do some extra work to make this thing just right for both the city as well as being palatable for our client, which now is under obligations for the lease should it be approved tonight. It's a 40-year lease, which is it's consistent with the other leases that are out there in the airfield. However, we did provide one option. Part of the reason for that one option is it is a 5-year lease for development for the phasing. So in essence, by the 5th year, they'll be tying up the last of the hangars. And so they won't have the benefit, or they wouldn't have the benefit of the use of those hangars for the full 40 years. So this provides a little extra incentive for them to recover some of their costs in this thing and hopefully make everybody successful and keeping them there. The rents, this is a couple of meetings ago, or it was the last meeting, no, I think it was one before, city council meeting. There was an informational item that was put out. It was also put out in the Prop Wash newsletter out at the airport. So the airport community is aware of this too. We had the rate assessment done. I did a brief comparison of where our rates are with our tenants out on the property compared to other airports. And we were significantly behind in the ground leases and all leases. This one is actually done at market rate. As we promised moving forward, we were going to start to issue leases that were based off the standard, the industry standard of being market. It does include the cost of, or the consumer price index increases into it. And at the end of the first 5 years, the rent recovery would be about $52,000 annually for the airport. So that's a lot of money that'd be going back in the airport enterprise fund. We've identified a lot of projects coming up, and that's going to be very valuable for match money for grants, as well as increasing our maintenance efforts out there to keep our airport as safe and growing as possible. It is a phased approach to this thing. It's a 5-year development period. It's got some very specific parameters for how it's to be developed. So within the first 18 months, they must complete development of their first hangar row, and then it goes from there consecutively. So we do have a very structured lease with goals and milestones for them to meet. However, we did provide some flexibility. We are in a very strange place now with shipping, with costs, with finding even people to work to develop these hangars out there. So should market issues arise, there is a provision there that allows us to work with them for those things that are outside of their control to make sure that they're successful and that we're reasonable in our approach. Also, the reimbursement provision is in there. So the things that we have to develop, the water line, help with the electric, those will be paid back to the city. So while they're going to be an upfront cost out of the city's capital funds, they will be reimbursed over time over the next 5 years as those hangars are developed on a pro rata basis. The performance standards, again, there's some very structured timeframes in here and things that make it so that, you know, we're comfortable as far as staff moving forward with this, knowing that we do have parameters that they have to achieve. They have had a chance to review it and they're comfortable with those parameters. So we're moving forward to you tonight with a mutually agreed upon document. There's also some default provisions in there, and I want to be specific about the ones that apply to this. You know, when you're dealing with a phased lease, you have a lot of questions. What happens if, you know, something happens in the middle of the development? You know, where's the city left at if they're not able to complete it? And so there's some very specific default provisions besides the ones that we normally have in there that deal directly with the construction. Should they only develop one hangar row and then start another one, and we go into default, giving them the option to cure and all the parameters that were allowed or afforded them under this lease, the city would then be able to amend the lease, taking away from them the remaining development as well as those incomplete sections. That we would then look for a new tenant to occupy those area, or to issue a new lease that was capable of finishing the project and continuing moving forward with it. So I want to be clear that there are provisions in this lease that protect the city's interest throughout the construction phase. So, right, I gotta move over here. So quick summary, we're getting a much needed storage area. I mean, hangar storage. This is something that, like I said, we get a call probably once a week from people looking for hangar space out on the, either in the tie down area, or if we know of people that have hangars available. It's in high demand. I know that our prospective tenant, I've been referring a lot of people over to, saying that they're looking at developing, and I think he's got a pretty comprehensive list of people already ready to go as soon as these things are actually put up. There'll be multiple hangar types. That's important. So there's going to be multiple options for people depending on what type of rent they're able to afford to be able to actually use the Auburn Airport to store their aircraft and operate out of. So that's pretty important. You know, lately I actually had a member of the military who said he was coming to this area. He had an aircraft and he was looking for an affordable option. And of course, this opens up some of those options for folks like that. The lease includes a $5.5 million investment. So that's an investment that will be made over the next 5 years. Now, this is a revertible lease. So at the end of the lease, just like all leases are on the airfield, just to add a note, at the end of the lease, that investment becomes part of the assets for the airport. And so that $5.5 million investment reverts over to the city's control and to manage for the airport. The other thing is, if you look at the amortized income off of this development, we're looking at, over the life of the lease, without the extension, you know, estimating some CPIU increases, you know, it's going to be around $2 million that will go back into the airport out there. So it's a pretty exciting, pretty large economic driver for us, and will do a lot to help other parts of the airport. The other thing that's really important here is the lessee that we're looking at is actually a member of the Auburn Airport, and they actually have experience developing hangars within this hangar section. They occupy one of those East End Phase 1 hangars, and they built it, they put it together, they know what they're in for. Staff has done background research. We feel comfortable with them. I know that a lot of the airport community feels comfortable with them. And it's good having a known commodity and somebody that has an actual vested interest in the airport moving this project forward. So we're very happy that they've made the decision to take this venture with us. And provided that the council will approve it, this will be a really good, I think, relationship for them and the rest of the airport community. And why are we here tonight? We have 3 people sitting in their cars right now listening to my long-winded presentation, which was supposed to be short. And we're here because of the rising costs. So we were going to put it on the next agenda for City Council and do it, normal path. But I was notified earlier this week that due to their vendors, which are known vendors and required to the cities for construction of hangars, they were notified that costs are going up substantially if they don't put a reservation now. So without this assurance, they of course would not be willing to put the deposit, the non-refundable deposit, down on materials that would be necessary to develop. And so we are doing this in an effort to try to keep the costs low for them and to show that we are willing partners in this development with them. So that concludes my staff report. Does anybody have any questions?
Jonathan, I have a quick one. So is the 52,300 and some odd cents, is that, so that'll be for 44 years? There's no increases or evaluations with regard to the rent?
That's the initial. So that's the estimated rent at the end of the first 5 years. Much like all the other leases out there, they are quantified in 5-year increments. So what happens is we go back and look at what CPI is for the previous 5 years, the cost of living increases, based off the local market sectors. And then we apply that to the next 5 years. So that is just the rate we estimate right now based off of current market. So that number is actually going to go up, but it's a phased project. So we are not going to realize that full amount until the end of the first 5 years. Then after that, it'll be that amount plus CPI moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. I didn't get a chance to read the whole lease. Are there any other questions by anyone?
Yes, as I'm driving, I wanted to thank Jonathan for doing such a thorough job on this. I know that this initially came before the council during my first tenure on the council, so this really has been a long time coming. As he said, decades. And this is a tremendous opportunity for growth at the airport. It's much needed. Very happy that we're having this, happy to be able to meet so quickly. And thank you to Jonathan for reaching out and ensuring that the users at the airport have been plugged in at every stage in the game. So I really do appreciate that as well. And very happy to be supportive of this action tonight.
So I've got a couple of quick comments, not questions. So I apologize, Madam Mayor, but yes, unusual that we're coming together on a random Wednesday night, but this is a very important item. So I appreciate Jonathan and John for bringing this forward to us. This has been an underutilized area of the airport for, as we've heard and read in the staff report, for decades. There's a high demand for use out there. The fact that we have an existing airport user who's willing to step up, make the investment, and move this underutilized area forward, I think is significant. So I'm certainly supportive of getting this thing going, and appreciate all the hard work staff put into this. Jonathan, you put into this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, and anyone from the public?
I do have a chat going on with Aaron Burns, and I think it would be easier if I just bring him into the meeting to do his public comment as opposed to read it.
Thank you.
Jonathan, the question that you might want to answer from Aaron, can you talk about sprinklers in the hangars, either dry or wet sprinklers?
So welcome, Aaron. So according to CAL FIRE in our consultation initially, and looking at the Uniform Building Code, California standards, it would be a wet system requiring a substantial amount of fire flow. Right now, I believe the line is where we're looking at, it's going to be a 12-inch main extending out there, which is a significant amount of flow. We did discuss chemical suppression, and because of the building code standards, you have options, but the water system, well, it was a desire of the tenant to have water out there, both for fire suppression and for domestic purposes. And B, it was one of the things we discussed with the fire, CAL FIRE. But I understand there's other systems. You're muted, Aaron.
So as far as the other uses of water, I know that sewer is not a part of it. Other uses of water, it's fine to have sinks and things like that. Obviously not restrooms. But.
So there's no actual domestic water service or sewer service out there. So it'd be limited to hose bibs and that type of thing. It'd be very much like the existing phase 2 section, or excuse me, phase 1, which has already been developed. I know that they have sewer stubbed out from those, but there's no sewer service. So obviously you want to run plumbing in anticipation because it would be running under a slab foundation. But there would not be until at some point in the future we came together and figured out a way to do that. There would not be any type of domestic use other than hose bibs for, just regular wash down purposes.
Cool. Thanks for the answer. Thanks for the answer.
Just as an FYI, a little over a month ago, Jonathan and I met with the director of real estate for PG&E and talked about getting that sewer line out there. So Jonathan kind of broached on it a little bit, but our ability to get at least a sleeve going across it until we get all the approvals on it. But I think we have every intent of very actively pursuing getting the sewer put in. And again, that would be something that would go to the developer to finalize. But we're on it right now, and we're absolutely going to be pursuing it to get that to happen.
Thank you for the answers. Thank you, Jonathan. As I said in my notes, this is a really exciting development. I feel like I jumped into the airport a little bit too soon. I would rather be part of this project than the one I'm in. So congratulations, hopefully. Thanks. Thank you. That's all I have. Yep.
Mayor Amara, I also let Stephen into the meeting. He has a public comment.
Yes.
Well, and not a public comment. I actually am representing the leasee on this endeavor here. So I thought I would just make a comment specific to this. And again, I'm appreciative of all the work that Jonathan's done here over the last several months. This has actually been a long time coming. I engaged with the city actually over more than 2 years ago to try to get this project rolling. And it's really over the last 6 months that it's taken some traction here. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the hard work to get to this point in the lease. As Jonathan pointed out, this is, I think, a really good investment for the airport. Demand appears to be high. I know the lease requires that we only build the first hangar in the first 18 months, but I think we will actually be breaking ground on at least 2 rows, maybe 3 immediately here. So we're very enthusiastic and again, appreciative of the city and supporting us in this role.
Thank you, Steve. And is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, this is a wonderful project. And again, thank you, Jonathan and John. And if someone has a motion, I would entertain that.
Yeah, Mayor, real quick before we do a motion, I also don't have any questions. I think the staff report was very thorough. I'll note that I, for one, don't really like us making such a large decision outside the regular meeting process where the public is noticed and able to participate. But I do think that all the T's are crossed here, I's are dotted, and really appreciate the thoroughness by Jonathan in putting this proposal together. So definitely looking forward to this moving forward.
Thank you, Daniel.
And Madam Mayor, I'm ready to make a motion if you'd like.
Yes, please.
I will move by resolution that we authorize the city manager or his designee to execute a 40-year ground lease between the city of Auburn, a municipal corporation, and Auburn East Hangars Phase 2 owners, an unincorporated association, and further authorize the execution of all related documents.
I'll second.
Madam Mayor, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Spokley. Do I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Spokley,
Yes.
Brilliant,
Aye.
Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Riddell Harris,
Aye.
and Mayor Amara.
Aye, that passes. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up? Well, we already had public comment. We're done. So we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we will see you at the next regular session. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam